G'day. G'day. Day 26 of 30 days of live content. Sales training with me, Joey Nanai of Nanai Consulting. And welcome back. So we're just going to get straight into it. How does key account management work? And how is it different to sales? So this particular live, I'm just going to share with you guys some of the learning from years of experience working alongside and with key account managers and being a key account manager myself indirectly, and what experiences I have there. So we're going to discuss some of the important aspects of key account management today. So welcome back. This is an exploratory discussion. In this session, I'd like to explore the different types or levels of relationship that you can have with the customer. I think this is important because it gives us the opportunity to think about what type of relationship exists today. And it also helps us to think about the implications of moving forward towards a deeper and perhaps more sophisticated relationship. So different managers have different views of what key account management is. And they also have different views on what key account relationship should look like. So it's worth spending a bit of time getting some clarity about what that actually looks like, what it means. So not all customers are equal. Also, not all customer relationships are equal either. And to start this discussion, I want you to imagine your key account management is a building. The taller, the bigger, the wider the building, the more profitable the key account is worth to you. And the question is, what kind of building do we want to see? We want to see a really big, a really wide, a really tall building. So what does that mean? Well, it means we want to have really strong foundations to support the tall, wide building. What's up, Latu? So let's take the analogy of the building foundations further and use it to represent our key account relationship. So when you have shallow foundations, it means, of course, you can't create a large building because the foundations just won't support it. So shallow relationships are very likely to lead to the substantial long-term economic growth that we're looking for. And strong, deep foundations give you a much better opportunity to build to have a very strong building, or that sort of big, tall type of building. And that's the type of relationship that you really want. By the way, I'm often asked by key account managers how they can avoid getting stuck in the RFP, RFQ, request for proposal, request for quote, or request for information. What's up, Elijah? Scenario, and typically a customer is after a quote or getting a quote or information from a number of suppliers. What's up, Alberto? tail loops, and an account manager wants to know how to get out of the situation. I guess what they're hoping for is that a quick training course will help provide the answer. Of course, these account managers are always disappointed when I point out that you got to work to avoid the work to avoid, or the work to get out of these sticky situations is done long before the RFQ, the RFI, RFP is actually issued. It's a bit like the old joke about asking the farmer for directions, to which the farmer replies, well, it's better not to start from here. So strong key account relationships are, of course, important. Just like building foundations, often we don't see the relationships themselves, but we don't have to be there to support the building, and in our case, support the business. So let's talk that through. Let's explore what that looks like and the implications for key account business. So we'll start with the building without any foundations at all, the shallowest type of relationships. And we'll describe that as transactional. That's a transactional relationship. What's up, Hannah? In which the seller is persuading the buyer, and the buyer is just focused on buying at the cheapest price, right? And the content of this discussion is actually focused on the product and the price. And the seller is not actually invested in the customer. And the buyer's already painted the picture that all suppliers are very similar, right? They all offer pretty much the same thing. And as a seller, from the seller's point of view, all the customers look the same or similar to the seller. Now, you may be thinking, well, no, wait a minute. That's not key account relationship at all. And if you're thinking that, you'd be absolutely right. But I've included it here because there's many account managers who just do not, or who think that simply turning up to give the standard company presentation, or perhaps when the contract is about to end, and in response to a quote, they think that's good enough, but it's actually not. And surprisingly, these are really successful companies. So we need to start thinking about how our foundations at a sophisticated level, and we're beginning to understand the customer's needs in order to present the solution. What's up, Sonny? What's up, Lisa? It just means that the buyer-seller interchange, to see the supplier taking some time out now to conduct some sort of customer need identification, customer needs analysis, and the ability to understand and address specific customer needs, to help ensure that the supplier is more likely to win the business. What's up, Bobby? And of course, the customer is more likely to present the offer on the customer's terms. So this all sounds much more promising, right? However, the focus is still very likely to remain with the product and the price. And the customer contact will typically still be directed at the buyer. So the needs that have been discussed, well, they tend to be, in the short term, quite tactical, quite specific to a project or local situation. You're looking at long-term customer value, right? So although the supplier will certainly achieve some level of relationship from the bulk of the suppliers, you're still going to be competing with the core of high caliber, confident suppliers and account managers. And the customer can draw from this group of suppliers, which means differentiation means for you, it's going to be quite difficult than you normally find. And there's a small number of confident suppliers. What's up, Maya? Who are looking a little bit like you. So at this level, we can actually categorize it by selling models, selling processes, directed at generally understanding the short-term needs. And I'm sure you're familiar with um, these selling models. I'm sure you'll be familiar with one of these models. For example, some of you who are in the sales game or in the sales realm will understand or identify spin selling, um, solution selling, professional selling, challenger selling, and so on. Now, it's important to be, well, from a selling point of view, there's nothing wrong with any of these models. They tend to be very effective, and they all use a very similar approach. They use questioning, they they identify or they find the correct needs, and then they present the product or service as the best solution to these identified needs. So most sales training is aimed at this kind of level, right? And for selling, they work very well. So there's nothing really wrong with these types of selling models. But here's the problem. The models themselves are generally used by all suppliers. So pretty much every account manager has been armed with the 2-day training program, which is quite typical. So all of your competitors are very likely to be using the same or similar approaches to the business. And what does that mean? It means your customer is actually hearing the same things from your competitors, right? And therefore all very much looking the same and very similar. What's up, Gaps? What's up, Gavin Tusini? Well, Dave also. So we've got some Londoners here, some people from Australia. The selling processes are primarily focused on the supplier selling a volume or revenue-based target. So they're less likely to lead to the sustained share or market growth, which, remember, it's the whole aim of the key account manager. So these selling models or sales training classes should not be confused with key account management. I know a few of you had some questions for me about, or provided some challenges to me about what you're seeing from a key account management point of view, and thank you for sharing those with me. So hopefully, if I haven't covered it already, I'll cover those challenges with you now. So, selling skills will remain important for the account manager, and of course, all account managers have to be familiar with, or competent with selling skills. There's a significant gap, I think, between the second level, which we just discussed, and the third, much deeper level. In this level, we get a much stronger, much deeper foundation. And this represents the start of this process of getting to an account management partnership of real, true, competitive differentiation. So this will see the customer and the supplier working together to address generally, and this is the key point here, right? So we've moved beyond the short-term buyer, the short-term local needs, and now we might be looking at a joint project to reduce stock or reduce costs from the supply chain. Perhaps to address the particular need of his own customer and improve production or operational efficiency, change your product design, and so on. So we're not focused on short-term selling here. We're now interested in developing a deep working relationship across the customer. And when this is happening, typically we expect to see a working party that can be composed normally a supplier and customer, key account managers, who at this level are restricted to one issue, and it'll generally last for the length of the project only. Now, why is this relationship so important? Because now you have regular access to many different customer managers, to data, to insights and information that your competitors won't have. As a result, you'll gain a great deal of customer insight about how the customer operates and what they see as important, and who influences the decisions and the interests of the customer's own customers, and the way they seek to serve their own customers and sell. And it's actually this knowledge that helps you to understand what value really means for the customer. And this is not knowledge that is normally possessed by your competitors. So this is new knowledge that just enables you to begin to change the nature of the relationship from being focused on selling products and services at a price. What's up, Maz Dillinger? What's up, Gar? And one that is focused on creating mutual value on long term. What's up, Big Mike? And at a deeper level still, the fourth one would be continuation of the third level that we just discussed. So now you're moving to becoming a permanent preferred supplier from the previous position of being a temporary preferred development partner. So this in turn amplifies the benefits for you as the wider scope continues to develop. And we can actually see a range of supplier customer projects that are all aimed at reducing and increasing customer sales. So again, we see the supplier gain more and more intelligence and insight about the value chain, the customer's customer, the opportunities, the competitive advantage, and therefore the incremental advantage and value. So whereas before, for the account manager with an account plan dominated by a sales target, now we're seeing a joint business development plan to which both sides have formally committed, focusing now on mutual value creation. What's up, Paul? Papa Shark. And the relationships throughout the actual structure. So a common feature at this level, you'll have top 10 meetings. So the deepest level, the fifth level, this is further continuation, and this level will see both sides have effectively committed to the other. So businesses have now become enmeshed in many ways, right? So it's now almost impossible for one side to withdraw from the relationship. So we might see some combined operations, some logistics, some project development, and we'll be unlikely to see that traditional selling approach that we talked about earlier. We might see the supplier becoming directly responsible for aspects of the customer's own operation. So there's no longer any question of whether the two sides will be doing business together. It's actually no need for a salesperson and a buyer in this relationship, but that's another topic for discussion. Yeah, so the supplier is no longer operating alone. It's now very much a commercial partnership together with the customer. So plenty to think about if you're in the realm of key account management or sales. And feel free to make some notes or just to have a reflect on what we've talked about. Sebastian May Lee, how are you, brother? From over there in Chi-Town. Okay, so hopefully you got something out of that. What I'd like to do now is just for those of you who've just joined, go through a few things, just regarding the topic of key account management. How does it work? And what's the actual difference between key account management and selling? So at some point, most company leaders have looked at their list of best clients and thought, oh, it'd be really bad if we lost any of these accounts. So these customers actually represent a disproportionate percentage of your revenue. Prefer new prospects to your company, give you credibility in their space, or all of the above. But how do you protect those customers from competitors who are trying to get in there, trying to weasel their way in there and steal your customers away from you? Obviously, the answer is what I've just been discussing during this live, and that's key account management, or CAM, as some people know it, KAM. So I'll just go through the actual definition of key account management, the benefits of key account management, and then I'll tell you the difference between key account management and selling. So the definition of key account management is the process of building long-term relationships with your company's most valuable accounts. So these accounts, they make up for the majority of the business income. And to turn buyers into business partners, a key account manager typically provides dedicated resources, unique offers, and periodic meetings. What are the benefits of key account management? Why should you start a key account management program? Key accounts are 60 to 70% likelier to close than new ones. Plus, they spend 33% more on average. Another stat is, according to the Harvard Business Review, customer satisfaction increases 20% within a few years of starting a key account management program. And profits and revenue, meanwhile, they increase by 15%. And the programs that have been around for over 5 years can see twice that result. So yeah, what would a key account management strategy look like? One, how transactional is your sales process? Two, does your product have upsell and cross-sell potential? So these are things to think about if you're a key account manager or looking to get into that realm. Three, can you land and expand? Can you introduce a product that will then grow, or will then the customer will then buy more and more of it once you've got that first bit in there? Four, what are your competitors doing? So you've got to know this. You've got to know the intel of what your competitors are doing with their products, with their accounts. And five, do you even have the capacity? So that's a key part as well. You've got to make sure that you have the room to operate or to bring in more business. So the difference between key account management and selling, as I finish off this live, is key account management and selling are very different. Whilst a salesperson focuses on the short term by necessity, a key account manager prioritizes the future. That's the key difference. So sales reps also zero in on specific opportunities, while key account managers have broader goals. They include collaborating with the customer on mutually beneficial projects. So these are things I've covered already, helping the customer meet their objectives and making sure the customer is getting the necessary support. What else have we got here? So, of course, hey, cuz. Actually, I'll finish off with how to identify key accounts. Maz, I know that this will resonate with you as someone who's in this realm. So hopefully this is enough information for you, but please do drop me a line with any key account management tips and tricks that I can pass on, or any challenges that you're facing in key account management. So how to identify key accounts. Your company needs an explicit, strict definition of key accounts. The more detailed and specific the criteria, the better. These customers are going to receive a great deal of your company's time, energy, and resources. So you want to make sure that they're the right ones, right? If they're the wrong ones, then you're wasting time, energy, and resources. Don't choose solely based on revenue. So that's something to really keep in mind. Don't choose solely based on revenue. Instead, review your current customers and their historical ratio of revenue to cost. Calculate how much potential there is to expand each account within that customer. You should also ask yourself whether they're a strategic partner. For example, do they have the connections, resources, and or industry reputation to significantly alter your company's trajectory? So it's got to be mutually beneficial, and ask yourself those questions. So here's a list of examples of what that would look like. 1, product fit. 2, solvency. 3, existing relationships. 4, the possibility of becoming a channel partner. 5, the cultural fit. 6, the geographic alignment. 7, purchasing process. 8, revenue potential. 9, oh no, there's no 9, but you also don't want to be tempted to label many customers as key accounts at one time. But you do want to be conservative. You can't tell a key account that they've been demoted or you put them on the bench. But you can tell a traditional buyer you're promoting them. You can, and make them feel good. In addition, you don't want to overcommit yourself. Starting a key account management program, it actually requires company-wide change. You need support from the C-suite, hiring and training employees. There is the implementation of new processes. So yeah, starting small lets you focus on your efforts. Some key account management skills that are needed. 1, you need to understand the company. 2, you need to collaborate. 3, you need to lead. 4, you need to orchestrate and execute. And 5, you need some analytical skills. There's a whole lot more that I can cover, but I think broadly I've covered everything that I set out to cover in this particular, especially when talking about the topic, how does key account management work, and what's the difference between key account management and selling. So hopefully that's enough for you guys. If it's not, you have any questions, feedback, thoughts or opinions, or even challenges that you want to share with me, please do send them through. I'll do my best to help you out. Cool. Let's end this live, and I'll see you very shortly with a new topic. Ciao.